Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with an abundance of salutations to be on our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. You are tuned into the Pulse Show this morning, the PMB Pulse, and that is together with me, Mehreen Mia, and my beautiful sister, amazing medical presenter Shubnum Ismail, coming to you live from Peter Marisburg on 105.6 FM. And if you're in Durban and the surrounding areas, you're listening to us on 90.4 FM. Wherever you are in the world, if you're connecting to us via live stream, we extend a huge and a very warm welcome to you as well. Today, we're talking to you, yes, about your health, your medical health, your mental health, your well being holistically. And before we go any further, let me say, as always, a huge thank you and a shout out to Kumalo, our tech here in Pietermaritzburg studios. Thank you, Kumalo. And I cannot go without saying to my brother Asif there in Durban, thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate you too. Remember, tech runs boss. I always say that. In today's program, we'll be looking at this important concept of medical and mental well-being in our community. Remember, Radio Al Ansar International is all about community. It is by the community. And these programs are all put together purely with the community at heart. We want to make sure we try and raise rife topics where we can try and help you as we help ourselves too to iron these out. Because remember, your health is, and you are our pulse. With that, I'm going to say to you, I'm joined, like I said earlier, by my amazing sister Shubnum Ismail. Sister Shubnum, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's awesome to be here with you again on this chilly Saturday morning.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to our listeners. And I do agree, it's a very chilly morning in Pietermaritzburg, but hope we're able to sizzle and warm the show.
Of course, we definitely can. And remember, we're going to do that even better because we have an amazing guest joining both of us here today in studio. Somebody is going to really, really help us with some understanding on these concepts, on the community aspects, on where we come from, on social aspects, on social work itself. And we're delving into some things I think people don't really like to talk about, they shy away from, but they're rife topics for us to be able to converse about, because the more we learn, the more we're able to equip ourselves with how to be. So remember, this is the show that is about you, it is for you, and this fantastic guest we were going to introduce to you straight after the break that's coming up. We're going to go for the quick nasheed one, and we'll be back just after this.
जिसने मदीने जाना
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to this PMB. With me, Mehreen Mia. We are sitting with Sister Shubnum Ismail. And like I said before, the beautiful Nasheed was heard. We have a guest in studio and we're talking about the link between mental health and physical health and how it's times, because people sometimes think physical health is only about the exercise and the diet. But we know that even though they're two separate entities, the two have to work together for us to be holistically well. And our mental health is really directly linked to our physical health. To help us understand this from a very important point of view, which is the social aspect, the social work aspect, and that perspective, we have a really delightful sister, somebody I've met before, and we found that out this morning when I saw her in the studio. I met her last year at an event where I was a guest speaker, and she was part of my audience. It was amazing, though. She's somebody I know is passionate about what she does after now knowing exactly who this is. Let me just give you a quick intro before I hand over to Sister Shubnam. So, Siphokazi Shezi is a very passionate social worker. She's from Pietermaritzburg, and her journey is really inspiring, I think. After graduating with honors from Wits University, she faced the harsh reality of unemployment, and that took a toll on her mental health itself. And I think every one of us, that does what we do, somehow has a story to tell. But she persevered with that, and she kept going. And of course, with determination, she had God's guidance, and of course, hard work. She took a leap of faith, and she decided to open her own private practice here. And she now focuses on psychosocial counseling. She works with private hospitals, mental health facilities, and she provides vital support for our community, I'd say, at large. She's partnered with UKZN. They host social work students for practical experience at her practice. And her goal is to grow her practice and employ other unemployed social workers, because Siphokazi believes in transformative power of social work. So, in a nutshell, this lady is a registered professional private social worker. She completed her honors bachelor's in social work at the University of Witwatersrand, and she's almost a decade now with working in this environment, including healthcare industries, the community, and working with schools as well. Siphokazi, warm welcome to you. But before that, let me hand over to Sister Shubnum Ismail.
Siphokazi, it's great to have you with us today in this very cold Pietermaritzburg that we mentioned earlier. And many people think of social work as only about family matters, divorce cases, or only gender based violence matters. But in our field, we know there's a lot more to this when it comes to medical and mental well being of the community. So, what would you say social work entails in light of this? And why did you choose this field in your career path?
I just want to take the time to say thank you so much for having me, Mehreen and Shubnum. And I think it's quite an important thing that we're chatting about mental health. It's such a vital topic, especially in our current day. Social work, I would like to think sometimes it's quite misunderstood. I know the history when you go back, social workers started as people that were giving food parcels during the apartheid times because there was a lack of food or resources. But it has definitely developed, and we are now at a point where we are in mental health. I know this because I've looked at the University of Cape Town. They actually have, a field where you can study clinical social work, where you actually get to be in the sector of diagnosing, but also being aware of all these conditions. So with that, social work is quite broad. I like to think that social workers are all rounders. They are change agents. They whenever they see a person, they don't just see, yes, they are struggling, but they see the whole community. Hence why social work has these three aspects. So we deal with people, so that will be the casework, individual work, which is mostly what I do. That's your counseling. There's also group work, which I've also been doing as well. So that's where you bring in, a group of people that will be of similar characteristics. It could be similar gender. They're all suffering from the same thing. And that's when you also host and you help them, and you teach, provide knowledge and information, as well as community work, which is also very important. So that's saying that whatever this person is going through, a lot of
people that they are coming from are going through the same thing. So we make it very community based. So why social work? It started off as I wasn't well aware of what social work was, because in our high school subjects there isn't a subject called social work, but only when I got into it and I started finding out that it's actually quite a very important thing, I fell in love with it, more so because it does link in with my personality, but also, having to be the change agent that helps others. Also, diving more into mental health, you get an opportunity to sit down with someone and help them see where they're at. Where are they struggling? Where are they not getting it? And I think it's become a really rewarding field in that sense.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing what you're saying, because it's almost like you got to find the balance between what everyone is going through when you see them. So it's not just a straightforward, I'm seeing you now and this is your diagnosis, and holistic view of and exactly what it means, the social work, the work of the social, so to speak. So you would break it down like that. The thing that amazes me, Siphokazi, is when feels right. We know that there are people who look for medication to heal. So you go to a doctor, they give you a pill for this, or they give you a tablet for this, and sometimes it's almost like a quick fix, and people want that. People want to heal now. If they come and they get diagnosed for something, they want a healing and a fix right now. I want something to cure me now. Is there, if what you've done so far, have you seen a connection maybe between people that are on chronic medication and somehow develop an addiction to medication?
Yeah. So maybe just to use that word quick fix, I think mental health definitely does not allow us to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's definitely so important that we all take it very seriously. So when you go in the route of saying, you know what, I'm going to get a quick fix, and when we're also looking at the, chronic medication and also addiction, if we aren't able to take time to actually, understand what's actually going on with me, why am I getting nervous? Why am I always panicking? Why am I always, scared of this particular incident? Why am I always failing as well? We run the risk of not unpacking what has been contributing to that exact episode or that moment, because as people, we quite, there's a lot of components that come into us. There's memories, there's incidents that have happened, there's traumas that have happened in the way in which we've grown up, in the way in which we view life perspective and how we've experienced life. So when we speak about getting a quick fix, we are actually robbing ourselves of the opportunity of growth, and also just realizing what has been a part of me that maybe I actually don't need, or that I need to learn from. So people that do look for quick fix, and I'm not going to judge them, because I think we do that in whatever platform we are in, because of the lack of knowledge and the lack of understanding the depth of going to those quick fixes. We run the risk of surviving but not necessarily living in fulfillment or living out quite in a way that is fulfilling. So hence why hence why then you will get people that are, addicted. Addiction is, it's quite a very dangerous route to go into. But I don't even think that people that are in addiction realize that themselves. They only realize quite later, because of those quick fixes, that when you're in addiction, it's a cycle of not resolving your issues and not resolving the things that you are going through. And as a result, you always get a pill, or you always get something that will give you that adrenaline rush, but not actually working throughout anything. So I guess the link is quite, it's there, but the most important thing is just to ensure that we don't go for quick fixes. We work, we put in the self-work so that we realize what's actually going on with ourselves.
I think with that, you think that self-care is more important, but for self-care to work, you got to know yourself, right? So you got to be honest with who you are. You got to know where you're coming from. And most often, like you said, sometimes we have even childhood trauma. I mean, there are people we see all the time, Shubnum and myself, they have issues that happen with them in their past, in their lives, or even happen in adult life.
Yeah.
And you tend to suppress that because you don't want to have to deal with it because it hurts too much. And then that suppression actually becomes a pain somewhere medically. And then you look for something to try and cure that instead of actually identifying what is wrong with me, what are my triggers, and how can I move forward.
Yes.
Speaking to Sister Siphokazi, I think we need more than just an hour, Sister Shubnum. We're going to go for a really quick break now, and we'll be back after this.
At 20 to 10.
Sorry.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the Pmb Pulse Show with myself, Mehreen Mia, as well as Sister Shubnum Ismail. We're coming to you live from Pietermaritzburg on 105.6 FM. If you're in Durban and the surrounds, you are 90.4 FM as well. If you're live streaming across the globe, we're saying a huge warm welcome to you as well. Like I said, I'm joined by Sister Shubnum, and we are joined by a fantastic guest, Sister Siphokazi Shezi, who, before the break, gave us some insight into the difference between the two healths, which is physical and mental. And of course, she touched on how important it is for us to be in touch with ourselves, Sister Shubnum.
Absolutely, Mehreen. It's such a touching topic, and I'm gaining so much of knowledge with Siphokazi, obviously with her expertise, and telling us exactly what she's doing. I've noticed that many people still encounter huge stigma when they seek help for mental health. And, have you noticed this in your line of work? And what reason for the stigma and mindset? And how can we curb this in society?
I think stigma will always be there, which is the very unfortunate part of mental health. Not even just mental health. I think there's quite a lot of areas where stigma is the case. And that speaks a lot about how our communities or even society are formed, that they are people on an upper level and there are people that are on a lower level. And as much as, let's say, you've been now diagnosed with depression or you have panic attacks, you are labeled, as weak or incapable or not being able to cope. And that's the unfortunate part, that we stigmatize, meaning that we label people with those issues or struggling with certain things, and we label them to say maybe they aren't able to cope. I was also just reflecting on how even in relationships, and I think that's such, quite a relevant thing now in relationships, where we expect the male figure to always be strong and present. And when you realize that they are, dealing with a lot of trauma, things that they haven't dealt with, the minute that they show a form of emotion, we judge them, we stigmatize them to say, you know what, this is a weak man. And I definitely, again, it's a very unfortunate thing that we do. Um, and my hope is that as I'm here, we create this narrative or this conversation of mental health and saying, how do we actually position ourselves in our communities to actually provide more support and understanding, so that we go away with stigmatization? Because I believe that when we become well aware, we have knowledge and information, we are less likely to stigmatize. Yeah.
The thing is, if there is stigma out there, the only way for us to shift it is to create awareness that it exists. And
Definitely.
one of the key factors for me, especially, is stigma for me is a mindset. And it's a societal mindset, I think. So it's sometimes ingrained in
yeah.
a boy, for example. You're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to show emotion. Girls, only you cry, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that, again, is like a stereotype. And we've got to kind of learn how to break down that stereotype. And talking about children, with kids nowadays, we both, Shabnam and myself, work with kids. I know you do all the time. We see with the youth nowadays, there's this huge rise with children and the youth, especially, having medical issues, pure medical issues. And sometimes those medical issues come from having unattended mental health issues. Now, how do you think social media, for example, and we know social media is a huge question mark topic. People like either talk or don't talk, because some people are very fixed on it's not good. Some people are very fixed on the other extreme. But how do you think social media and technology have impacted our children to actually create this medical or mental health issue for them?
Yeah. I like to think social media isn't the actual problem. Going back again to how we just spoke about our society and community, I think that's definitely where everything is happening.
Yeah.
The rate in which we are seeing, for an example, teenage pregnancy is quite high. Single mothers, families where one parent is not there, either they've passed away from an illness or something tragic has happened. And you find that through all these issues that are happening within the home, there's a result then that comes on the kids. So it's as if social media is the real issue, but I'd like to think that the root problem right now is our families.
Yes.
It's how we deal with things. It's how my mom is not able to listen to me because she's so busy, or she she as well has her own mental health issues that she has not dealt with. So I think social media definitely highlights or heightens what's actually going on. I know on social media we learn a lot because there's a lot of exposure. We learn how to do makeup. We learn how to, how what's happening in the world outside where we're living. And I just think that we can use social media in a very positive way to create awareness, to create platforms like this to say you're not alone.
Yeah.
I am also going through something quite similar. Definitely, there has been cyberbullying as well on social media, where teenagers are experiencing hate, even body shaming, and all these things definitely have been happening even
Yes.
before social media. But again, social media will just heighten all these things. The important thing, especially with these increasing numbers, we need to go back to our societies and communities, whether that is your school, and saying what awarenesses school to teach our learners that cyberbullying or bullying, or how to even manage these social media platforms. Even at home, again, how do we go back and say there are unhealthy ways of living as a family,
Yeah.
as well as in the larger community. So I think the real work goes back to our societies and our community spaces, rather than us blaming it on social media,
Yeah,
because it
yeah.
is increasing.
It is
Yeah.
always easier to pass the blame game. But the thing with social media, I also see, is that it becomes almost like a replacement of the parent sometimes.
Yes.
And when the social media becomes the replacement of a figure that should be your mentor, that's kind of when the problems set in. And that too is more when the identity issues with the children start, because then they tend to rather identify with what they're seeing on social media, or what they're seeing in a kind of a viewing of what parenting should be like versus what their parent does.
Definitely.
So that alone also creates that issue with the children, and then they're mixed up, because what is at home, what is on social media, and what we see in school, and what my friends have, all become conflicting. This topic
Definitely.
is really, really something else. It's important points for each one of us, and
Yeah.
I take the lessons for myself as well, inshallah. Hoping that your morning is going great with us. I'm told by both my texts we need to go for a quick ad break, and we'll be back after this. Times with me, Mehreen Mia, and of course, Sister Shubnum Ismail is here with me, and we're coming to you live from Pietermaritzburg, 105.6 FM. If you're in Durban and the surrounding areas, you're 90.4 FM, and a very warm welcome to you. Yes, we started our Saturday on a very chilly note, but our discussions are really rife and warm in here, Sister Shubnum.
Absolutely. Assalamu alaikum to our listeners and Siphokazi. It's really a very important topic that we're discussing today on obviously mental well-being, mental health with our social worker. And our previous question posed to Siphokazi was about the youth and the social media and those sort of things. But really something that stood out for me earlier this week when I met with a nephrologist that deals with renal impairment. One of the topics we are discussing is he's seeing a higher volume of youth coming into his practice with renal impairment because of drug abuse. They're not hydrating themselves, they're not eating right. And because of the school, the exam, the pressure from families, he's obviously seeing this happening. It's reality and it's a challenge for him. And you earlier on that education is key. And I'd like to pose this question to you. Do you see a larger number of volumes of youth that's dependent on these drugs and actually not dealing with communicating effectively? What would be your advice to parents of families that's obviously dealing with your youth being dependent on drugs rather than dealing with their social issues?
Yeah, definitely so. I think there's been quite a number of, youth on the streets as the years have gone by compared to maybe 10 years ago. There's also been quite a lot of substances which I think we maybe term as safe substances, such as your vape, as much as smoking is still there. So I think that definitely speaks to the youth right now is really being exposed to a lot of substances, whether that's full on drugs, whether that's, the vapes. They definitely are finding ways on coping. And to say then what's been the cause definitely is worth the unpacking. And I think it's diverse for everyone. Some youths definitely come from environments, as I've mentioned, where there's a lot of neglect emotionally, so they don't feel like they're being heard. They don't feel like they matter in those spaces. Sometimes it's also the community that they are in. There isn't a level of high achievement. Sometimes there aren't even resources where they are going to school, but they don't know what's happening or what's going to happen after that. So such thing as peer pressure will be there, where they just amount to whatever that they are seeing in that environment. And I think the unfortunate part then is that youth has not been able to cope with whatever that they've been presented with. And, it speaks to their mental health that they are falling into peer pressure. They are falling into the pressure, into the anxiety, or into whatever that they are facing at that moment. And as a result, unfortunately, it is medical, which is the renal impairment. So I do definitely think renal, solving it or looking at how do we actually find solution, is going back to maybe also looking at each child specifically differently, because each child will have a different issue, and seeing what are the commonalities. But it's definitely a thing where parenting or parents have to be more involved. How do they play a part? How do they ensure that their kids are eating the right diet, or they seeing through are they listening to their kids? Are they aware of what they are going through? Also in the communities, communities need to speak out as well. If they feel that certain resources are not there, they're not being available too. I know even crime is a thing as well because of these drugs. So I think it's a lot to look at. But the unfortunate part is that mental health, especially if being neglected, does cause these medical conditions.
The thing that I've also seen, and I think you would agree with me, is the children. It's not just only the neglect. Is I want to fit in. I want to fit in. So if this is the crowd that will accept me and they do that, let me just try and do it too.
Yes.
And half of the time, when that child does eventually come to seek help, when you go and identify with the parent and say, this is what this child is doing, the children, they want to get the help, the parents become the one in denial.
Definitely.
I don't do anything wrong. I've never given the child money to buy the vape, so I don't believe that, that kind of thing. So there has to be some kind of an awareness for parents and children so that we can marry the both.
Definitely.
And that, what you just mentioned now is so important. Parents nowadays in the rat race of life, and Sister Shubnum will see this too, they don't have the time to even ask a child sometimes, how was your day? And the kids just have to keep going. And where they find solace is in these kinds of things, which is all wrong. We know it. But for us to make the changes absolutely starts with each home, with each one of us and what we do with our kids, Shubnum.
Absolutely. And having a teenager myself, when I look at the life skills model at school, there's so much more that can be added to it. I mean, this is reality. Our future generation, our kids are important to us. So we got to look at what we can actually add value and how we can educate them better. And we all keep teaching people to prioritize self-care and find healthy ways to manage the demands of each one's professions to prevent burnout and other medical issues. And finding the balance is so key, Siphokazi. And people can't manage these days with a rat race of life. So what have you seen regarding this, and how people can develop a skill to help them and keep a routine and structure in place?
Yeah, sure. It's definitely not easy. So because I've been working at St. Catherine's now, I'd always have these sessions between the parent and the teenager. And I think for the longest time, it was more of taking the side of the teenager and saying, oh, the mom is wrong, they're not. And because initially you will have a session with the teenager before the parent, and then you will have a session with the parent. But what I've come to realize is that, you're not taking any side at all. It's a matter of finding a balance and finding, what's actually going on and how can we bring in these two together. So coming back to self-care, the image that I had in mind is a parent coming back from a busy schedule at work, and you are just done. You're tired. It was a stressful day, emotionally, mentally, even physically, you just don't want to do anything. And your child is saying, Mom, watch this, Mom, please, this and that. And the first thing that may come to mind is you just shout. You don't have time. You neglect. You push them away. And it's so important that at that point you become very aware of what you are doing and how you're contributing. So self-care does come after that reflection, because if you haven't reflected, it doesn't even have to be you and your child if that's not what you're experiencing. It could be you not being active in your everyday routine and feeling tired all the time. It could be you not feeling your most effective in your relationships with your friends, with everyone that you keep in touch with. So self-care is important, but it definitely becomes vital when it comes after the reflection, because you become more intentional about, why do I need self-care? You sit down with yourself and you ask, where am I not being effective? How can I actually then be more effective? Because I like to think that self-care for each person differs. So even the routine that I set out, if I say that after work, I'm going to drink water and read a book, that's my specific way of saying that's my self-care. It doesn't have to be the same as everyone else, so long as you've reflected, this is what's actually going on, and this is why I'm not being effective. Therefore, for me to be effective, this is what I need to do to combat where I'm at. So even the routine and the structure becomes a very individualistic attempt. You can do this by yourself. You can do this with your loved ones that you feel know you and they recognize that you are actually not yourself anymore. Or you can also even seek assistance, go see a counselor, social worker, psychologist, where you can actually work into your self-care. And remember, your self-care is for you and about you. It's not saying that I'm going to do this for my kids. No, you do this for yourself, for the benefit of your kids.
It almost boils down to the fact that, the empty cup syndrome.
Yes.
You can't give up from your empty cup. You got to keep filling your cup in order to fill someone else's. But in keeping with that, and when we're talking about parents, just an analogy that comes to mind, and I thought of it, is if you're a mother, for example, right, and you're a stay-at-home mom, and you have 3 kids, just hypothetical example, and your 3 kids are coming home at different times in the afternoon. You have one that comes in at 12, one that comes in at 1, and one at, like, say, 2 o'clock. The one that comes in at 12 would walk in all happy and Mom, I'm home. And then you'd be like, oh, how was your day? And then, you pass them something to drink, and then they go and wash, and they come up and they're having something to eat, and you still have a conversation. By the time the second one comes in, your tone of voice actually automatically changes.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, yeah, okay, so here's your stuff to drink. I'll be back just now. And then the second one's just sitting.
Yeah.
Third one walks in at about 2:00 and just, hi, Mom. Hi, here's your stuff. I just got to take a call quickly. I'll be back.
Definitely, yeah.
So a parent, and I'm not saying it's the mom only, okay, but a parent sometimes doesn't even realize that they're doing that. And the 3 children start to feel barriered between each one.
Yeah.
And they don't even know why. But it's small things like that that can contemplate a mindset shift in somebody.
Yeah.
And that makes the balance become so difficult.
Yeah.
Because for a parent, if I have to go to a mother of those 3 children and say to her, you have done this wrong to your 3 kids, she will hunt me down.
Definitely.
She's gonna bring the roof down, because she'll be like, I clean that house and I do everything for my children. How dare they complain about me?
And that's her role and responsibility,
Absolutely.
which she watches out for.
Yes.
And I think that's how you also find kids growing up with low self-esteem.
Yes.
Oh, I guess then maybe I'm not as important as that one.
Absolutely.
Not realizing that how the system is playing out,
Yes.
favors one and doesn't favor the
It's
other.
so true. And the thing is, the key word is awareness. I got to be aware of me and what I got to
Definitely.
change about me to make me more effective. Even as a mother, we got to keep learning. This topic is just, we could go on and on and on. I think it's a workshop material topic, seriously, because a healthy mind, we know, gives you the healthy body. And this physical and mental health, if you don't know that there is a link between the both, I think between the first show, Sister Shubnum, and today's show, everybody now knows it's there. We've had some amazing feedback from you guys as listeners, I must say. It's been very, very amazing to hear that you want to hear more from Sister Shubnum and myself about this topic. And I think, Sister Shubnum, is more because people out there never really saw the direct link.
Yes.
They know it's there, they know it exists, but they don't see the link between the both. Like, I'm medically sick, there's nothing mentally wrong with me.
Sure.
Or I'm mentally ill, but I'm not mad. There's the stigma again. But now we're unpacking these things for our community and our listeners, and I think they're finding solace in understanding themselves through it.
Yeah.
So these kind of topics are really important, because mental health and mental illness don't just affect one person. It automatically affects an entire family. And if you don't nip it in the bud, so to speak, it becomes a medical health issue. And by then, you don't know, am I dealing with the medical issue now or the mental one? Why not try and get the help immediately for the mental well-being of yourself? So this link is complex, but the answer is simple. You need your body, but your body needs your mental health.
Sure.
Yeah, it works closely together. So if you're struggling with the one area, you can focus on the other, but you need to try and get in touch with you, be aware of you, and bring you to the balance that you need for your life, I think. Sister Siphokazi, it's been amazing. What do you think are your parting words to our listeners this morning?
Sure. So I like to think that mental health, again, is very important. It has no race. It sees no gender.
Yeah.
I also like to think that whether you are a boss at a very big company or, nothing, or you're not as well recognized, mental health is still very important. It's about how you choose to interact with the world around you. And if you are failing and there's a part where you're not getting right for whatever reason, you're not sure why, you're not understanding what actually is causing this and that to happen, definitely do reach out. I think we all have these personal dilemmas or problems that we experience, especially in this life, where we are trying to be better from yesterday. We are trying to make it out. We are trying to reach out with our dreams and goals. And if you are battling and you feel like you are stuck, reach out. And there's definitely help out there to help you understand where you're getting it wrong before you seek quick fixes or before it gets even worse.
Yeah. I love what she's saying. And you know what? It's always okay to not be okay. That's the bottom line. Know that it's okay to not be okay, and that should be a philosophy. Sister Shubnum, any of your parting words before we close?
Siphokazi, your social work is palpable, and it's clear that you make a real difference in people's lives. I am so appreciative of your willingness to share your expertise and insights with us today. And as part of our health calendar, earlier this month in July, it was corporate wellness.
Yes.
And coming from a corporate perspective in the medical field, one thing I've noticed is that our people, our employees, are very important to us. So companies need to have a roadmap where they add social wellness and counseling and discussions to ensure that the mindset is set. They are actually taking care of their people. And I thank you today for sharing your expertise with us. It's been incredible.
Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, we've learned so much today on this holistic health and well-being, the balance between the medically physical health and your mental health. It's just about your health being all round best for you as an individual. That's what we're trying to aim for you and ourselves. Remember, all of us keep learning as we keep growing together. But what's happening in the world, we have mental health matters no matter what, but we also know there are videos going around of the struggles of our people in all war-torn areas. World right now, we will not lose sight of Gaza. Nothing stops our Palestinian people, not death, not fear, and we will never stop creating awareness of them, inshallah. I mean, Sister Shubnum, it was amazing, amazing, amazing. Siphokazi, I don't know how to say thank you, but you're phenomenal, my sister.
Thank you.
Keep going. I leave you all with a humble request for du'as, inshallah, for my marhum father, marhum Farooq Mia, and all marhumeen, inshallah. May Allah grant him Jannatul Firdaus. May Allah make dua, inshallah, for my mom, our children, and of course the entire Ummah, and especially our brothers and sisters in every war-torn area. We never ever forget our people of Gaza, inshallah. Ameen. Remember me too, as I will remember you. Jazakallah khair to Kumalo here in Pietermaritzburg. I did not say the M word. And of course, my amazing tech there in Durban. Asif, thank you so much. Really appreciate you, brother. Don't forget, you got to keep it locked onto Radio Al Ansar International for more amazing programs lined up for you today. Inshallah, we look forward to being with you again. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Astawdiullah dinaka wa amanatika wa khatima amalika. Ameen. Allahumma ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
صلي على النبي وتبسم ده النبي تبسم وتبسم ده النبي تبسم اللهم صلي عليه قلبي المتيم كلما صلى عليك وسلم ذاق السعادة مغرما يا سيدي يا محمد صلوا عليه شافع الأمة بذكر الرسول تشحذ الهمة يا ربي بجاه النبي أزح الغمة يا ربي